Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to another video. We're going to be talking more about 6 Days in Fallujah and whether or not it is worth a $40. I've been getting a lot of questions on whether or not this game is worth a $40 price tag, and I sort of want to talk about the game and answer some questions, just kind of get into my thoughts and what we're going to be seeing in the future and some important points to bring up and stuff like that. Now, I have been waiting for 6 Days in Fallujah for quite some time, ever since I heard about the official gameplay reveal years ago. I've been paying attention to this game, to this shooter, and I've just been extremely excited ever since then to get my hands on this game. And the main thing was, obviously, I do enjoy tactical shooters, so obviously my standpoint on this game, and we're going to be approaching this with the perspective of myself enjoying a lot of tactical shooters and milsim type games. It caught my eye when I saw this game when it first released, the trailer released. I really enjoy CQC type games, tactical shooters. My channel is based around Ready or Not and other tactical shooters. I've been having a lot of fun, and so far I don't really have many complaints about the game. There's some things I think could be better, but we're going to get into it. We're going to get down to the details. Now, the important features to bring up here would be what the game has to offer. What is the current content that is being offered in this game? Now, the main one, I think the most original thing and the most unique thing about 6 Days in Fallujah that isn't offered by a lot of shooters, a lot of tactical shooters, is the procedurally generated maps. Now, to an extent, I'm going to try to explain this as best as possible. The maps themselves or the missions themselves aren't necessarily procedurally generated throughout. Now, you'll notice that when you load into a mission, you might load in and notice that the buildings will be different, the rooms will be different. However, you play the game 4 or 5 times in a row and you might notice, oh wait, this room looks very similar to the one I saw before. This building looks very similar to the one 2 games ago. So the game is not completely generated in that sense, but it does have that factor. It does have that feature of procedural generation, but it's not to a full extent to where every single time you start a mission, it's going to be 100% different every single time. The buildings will be different, the placement of the buildings will be different, the rooms will be different, and things like that. However, I will say I still think it's an extremely good feature, considering this is the first CQC tactical shooter, or at least I believe is the first CQC tactical shooter we've seen with procedural map features, which does add a lot of replayability for this game. I noticed that I do find myself enjoying this game way more due to the fact that it has procedural generation. It adds a lot to the replayability. You never know what type of building you're going to move into. You can't memorize the layouts of buildings and stuff like that. However, I will say with that, there are a few buildings that are, how do you say, like templates. So like I said earlier, you'll go into a building, you'll notice there's a stairway on the left, and then you notice that there's a balcony, and you're like, oh wait, I know this building. We just went through this building 3 games ago. I have, I already have a map in my head on how this building is going to play out. So there will be a couple buildings that, even though the building itself is procedurally generated on where it's placed on the map, the building itself will not necessarily be completely different. Hopefully that makes sense, but either way, there is procedural generation, and it's still a really good feature, but it's not fully procedurally generated. Now we're going to go through the different types of mission types. There's quite a few here. We've got apartment building, which your goal in apartment building is to clear out an apartment building where at the very top of the apartment building, there's going to be wounded Marines, Marines that need to be rescued by your squad, and you have to do this, and you have to clear out each room within the apartment while also being under constant fire of an enemy sniper inside of some type of a religious tower where you can't engage the tower because it's against the ROE. Adding on to that, there is a helicopter support mission where you're placed down and you have to go through building to building looking for an RPG or a weapons cache of some type, and you have to detonate this cache in order to complete the mission. You've also got convoy protection, which your goal is to destroy oncoming enemy vehicles, which their goal is to blow up your convoy. So you have to destroy or disable their vehicles before they get to the convoy, and you're also protecting the convoy from other types of infantry forces like RPGs and stuff like that. And lastly, you've got a fortified compound, which this is probably my favorite, and the goal in this one is to go building to building searching for a target building, a fortified compound, I guess to say the least, and you have to breach this building and clear it out full of insurgents, and you have to tear down their flag and then defend that building from oncoming insurgents in order to complete the mission. And as of right now, these are currently the only mission types available, but keep in mind the procedural generation factor here is that there is a lot of replayability with each mission type. Every mission you go through is never going to be the exact same. Another big feature that I want to talk about is the audio, and I've already brought this up in other videos, but in case you haven't seen my other videos, the audio in this game is absolutely phenomenal. I want you guys to check out this clip right here.
Come.
Goes further up over here. Blue on your right, blue on your right.
So as you can notice, the audio does sound really good, and it gives you that option to use the in-game VoIP rather than using something like Discord, because you've got the effects from the echoes when you're clearing buildings, which sounds phenomenal, and then you've also got the radio effects, which sound really cool as well. It's super immersive, and I love that. Another important thing that I think makes this game so unique is the CQC combat, the room-to-room combat. I think it's the best I've ever seen. If you throw a frag grenade in the room, if you use a 40 mic in the room before you breach, you'll notice that dust and smoke kicks up and makes it extremely difficult to see. The lighting from the outside and the lighting from the inside of the room makes it so that you have to use your flashlights, and it's very difficult to see in from the outside. It's extremely realistic, just how lighting would work in real life. It's awesome, and not a lot of games have features like this. This is the first game where I felt like I was 100% immersed in the CQC combat, just not knowing what's around the corner, just the limited visibility. It's just so intense. Now, there's some things to keep in mind with 6 Days in Fallujah with that $40 price tag is the future plans for 6 Days in Fallujah. It's a huge thing you got to take into consideration, as the developers are working hard to bring us fresh content and updates. They have already confirmed a variety of new features that are nearly ready to go. The developers have currently confirmed that they will be adding a single player campaign, and they said they were going to bring the single player campaign in with early access. They said that it will be available eventually, but unfortunately they weren't able to push out the campaign on time, so they were just focusing on the co-op, which I understand. However, they have confirmed a single player campaign is coming in early access, and it's almost done is what I believe I read. I think that's correct. We're also going to be seeing AI controlled teammates for both the campaign and offline co-op. You'll notice if you go offline right now in co-op, you're playing by yourself. You don't have anybody with you. There's no AI teammates. That will be changed in the future. You'll be able to do offline co-op with AI teammates, and you'll also have AI teammates with the campaign. They're also going to be adding special operation missions, more troop nationalities, non-combatant civilians, which I'm really excited for that, and lastly, they'll be adding console support when the game officially launches in 2024. Now, there's a few things there's a few issues, and there's some things that I would like to see them change in the future, and this is obviously my opinion. Some people may agree or they may disagree. The first one being that the in-game VoIP is incredibly immersive. It is identical to real life, and I love it. However, I wish there was a push-to-talk function. And the reason I say that is obviously we do have the push-to-talk for radio, but it would be nice. Every single game I've played, especially like Squad, for example, you have a local push-to-talk and then you have a radio push-to-talk. I'm not exactly sure why they decided to opt out of this, maybe just for more immersive reasons. But either way, I think they should give you the option to have an open mic and then also allow you to do a push-to-talk for the local voice. The big thing for me is just background noise. There's some people that just can't control background noise, and I can understand that. However, it would be nice to have that local voice push to talk, in my opinion. One thing that did bother me, and it is still kind of, I'm getting used to it, but there's like this aim punch that occurs when you're getting shot at by the insurgents, and you'll notice you'll go to try to take a shot, and then you'll get hit by the insurgent, and you'll still fire your gun, but you'll be firing it at the ground. I don't know if this is something like, I know in real life you're obviously going to flinch, but you also have got adrenaline. So I'm not really sure if this was a feature that they purposefully added in for your character to flinch like that. However, I think it's quite annoying because I'll go to take a shot at somebody and they'll get a lucky shot at me, and I almost go down because my gun is pushed to the ground for quite some time, to the point to where I can't put rounds on target, and it does get pretty bad in my opinion. I want to see in the future, I want to see them change up the door opening and the breaching. I don't like how you're in a static animation when you go to open a door as well as breach a door. I wish there was a way to kind of move your character out of the way, or just change the animation completely to where I can open a door like while in cover, instead of my character just going in front of the door and just exposing himself to the fatal funnel. I think that's a huge issue. I love how on Ready or Not you can kind of just open doors while you're in cover. Same thing with breaching doors while in cover. So I think that's a big thing they need to work on. I have been shot at through doors. I have been shot at while trying to breach a door and while opening a door. And I also notice the doors don't open all the way. You have to physically move your character through the door. You can't like push the door open, which I think is an issue as well. well, and hopefully they'll address that. I'd also love to see the ability to add more squad members. Right now, the game is challenging, and I think adding more squad members might make the game too easy, especially farther, you know, the more, I guess, adaptive you do, or the more you adapt to the game could get more easy with the more squad members you have. But I think if they allowed you to have a couple more squad members for the sake of, you know, military sim groups or friend groups with a lot of people, just having that option to do it just so you can play with your friends, just like how there's mods for Ready or Not. I'd really like to see the ability to be able to play with more than 4 people, because fire teams, I think, have more than 4 people. I could be wrong. But either way, just increase the difficulties, make the game a little bit more challenging with the ability to add more players in there, and then just add more enemies, I think is a good way to balance that out. Now, for my final thoughts, and I know I said this in the beginning, but as someone who loves tactical shooters and been playing them almost religiously for years now, I have to say, I personally think it's worth $40, especially with the upcoming content that has been promised. But however, I'm gonna be honest with you, if it wasn't for having like-minded players that I enjoy playing the game with, tactically and realistically, my experience would most certainly be different, and I probably wouldn't feel the same way about the game right now. If you're someone who doesn't have a lot of friends to play with, or maybe you don't like playing online, or you're looking for more of a single-player experience, I guess, I'd say this game isn't for you right now, and I wouldn't drop $40. I'd wait for the AI teammates to be added, as well as the campaign. I also failed to mention the game does offer a matchmaking system, but I'm gonna be honest with you, tactical shooters and matchmaking usually doesn't mix very well. I could be wrong. I haven't tried out matchmaking for myself. However, I can only imagine, you know, people running around trying to play Call of Duty, no one really trying to play together. That's my experience with a lot of tactical shooters and matchmaking. It just doesn't really work. You got to find yourself a milsim group, or get on the 6 Days in Fallujah Discord, find some people that are playing the game and want to take it at least somewhat seriously, semi-seriously, so you can enjoy the game to its full potential. Either way, those are my thoughts. That's my opinion. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about 6 Days in Fallujah. Do you think it's worth $40? What do you think about my opinions on the game right now, my thoughts on the game? What are some things that you'd like to see change in the future? What do you like? What don't you like? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for sticking to the end, and we'll see you in the next one.